This is for my beginners in guitar, but I just want to make sure we got a video that has some real basic things and terms that will be used going forward in other videos. So I just want to make sure that you can revert back to this video to understand if you don't understand some terms. But the guitar, of course, standard tuning, the strings are tuned at a particular pitch. This is E, starting with the thickest string, E, A, D, G, B, E. Every American deserves good beer every day. Kind of an easy way to remember that. But it's good to know those strings and know them inside and out. If I say your G string, you know right away. Or a lot of times they're numbered. You start with the thickest, which is 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So for navigation purposes, if I said string 4, fret 8, you would look at string 4, okay, also known as the D, like David string, and then you'd go to fret 8. And they also, for navigation purposes, these little dots help you out, okay? If you notice there's 2 dots here, that signifies the 12th fret. Why is that important? Well, the 12th fret is where everything repeats. So the distance between this open string and this note here is an octave. They're the same note. They're both E notes. It's just that the distance is an octave. An octave is the entire scale of notes in between one E to another, or one A to another, or one G to another, etc. And those notes, if you don't know them, if we started at E, we go E, F, F sharp G, G sharp A sharp B, C, C sharp D, D sharp E, back to E an octave away. As you see, most of them are a whole step apart, with the exception of B to C and E to F. They're only a half step apart. So you won't find any sharps in between them, those 2 notes. B and C, no sharps. E and F, no sharps. So again, these markers are handy because this one is your 3 marker, 5, 7, 9, 12, 15, 17, 19, 21. So you may or may not have that many on the guitar that you're using, but those markers give you a good way to find where your notes are. So if I said find the 8th note, you know that 3, 5, 7. So the 8th would be on this fret here. 8th note on 4th string, you would know to play that note. So just little navigational things that, and often on the top of your fretboard, if you can see these, same markers exist. So get used to using those for helping to navigate. Let's see what else. So we've got the strings, the definition for an octave. Within within this octave is all the notes of of a major scale, a minor scale. A scale is simply a pattern of notes that go from the root a whole step away, be your first note, another whole step, second note, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. It takes us through an octave, but it's breaking it down. We're not playing every single note. It's going from one note to the octave, but it's breaking it down into whole note, half note, whole note, whole note, whole note, half note. Takes us right back to where we started. That's a major scale. Major meaning the relationship of the root to the third is a major. Obviously, this is an A chord. You learned your cowboy chords. It's an A chord. And this is an A minor. The difference between this A and the A minor is there's only one thing that's different, and that's the third of the scale is shorter. The distance between the root and the third. I'll play the C scale starting on C. Got a C chord there. C, whole step to D, whole step to E, half step to F, whole step to G, whole step to A, comes after A, B, so we're going to play the second string, so our B, half step to C. So there's an octave. So that's the major scale that lies with a major chord. And that's kind of the building block. It's like a foundation. To break it down even into smaller bricks, you might say, you've got a root, a third, and the fifth that make up a major chord, root, third, and a fifth. So we're picking that root note, we're picking the third, remember our scale, 1, 2, 3. So there's our third note, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So you can see that relationship, that's a third. This is the fifth note. Again, here's the C scale going down one string, root, whole step, half step, whole step. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's our fifth note. Same as this string. Just instead of playing it down the string, we're going across. So that open G, C chord has C, E, and G as the three notes that make up the C chord. In this case, some of them are duplicated. You've got a C, an E, a G, another C, and another E. So we got two C's, two E's, and one G. Now you only need three notes to make that major chord or a minor chord. And those are what we're going to call the 3-note chords are called triad. And they're very, very useful to understand the triad. And within this C chord, if you just play the bottom or the thinnest 3 strings, I guess we'd call them the top because they're the highest in pitch. That's a C chord. We've got our G, our C, and our E. In this case, the G is the 5 out of the, we need a root, third, and a fifth to make a triad C chord, right? So we're actually playing the 5 first in this scenario, followed by the 1, followed by the 3. You might recognize this shape. Just got my finger here on the C note on the B string there. First fret, second string. You might recognize this shape from another very popular chord, the D chord. It's just we're using the nut here instead of our fingers. For the D chord, we're using our fingers. Here, the nut's providing the same, but the location intervals, the distance between the notes is the same. So that's our first triad. So we've got the C shape and our triad C shape for the C chord. The C shape and the triad shape for the C chord can all be played in various positions. If I play if you remember, we played a 5, the root, and then the 3. 5, root, 3. So whatever this note is determines what the name of the chord is. Well, we're a whole step away from that note. What note is that? Well, it's on the 12th fret, so it's the same as this string open. So that's a B. What comes before B in the alphabet? A. So this right here is an A chord. You've got all the elements you need. A fifth, a root, and a third in this order for that to be an A chord. Sounds a lot alike, just in a higher register and also in a little different order. Call them voicings, different voicings. So there's our A, there's our A. So we've covered the C chord, and we've covered one of the triads that are within that C chord. But the C chord itself, and we've covered the scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. But this C shape can be moved up and down the neck. Now you got to change your fingers a little bit about how that's done. You have to utilize your pinky and your index as the nut, but the beauty of it is that pattern that you learned here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that same scale pattern, major scale pattern, is available to you from this position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now it's in a different major scale. We played the C major scale here. So when we play the major scale somewhere else, we look at where our roots are located. Well, in this case, our root was on the 5th string and on the 2nd string. Well, that's going to be true here as well. Our roots are going to be on the 5th string and going to be on the 2nd string. So if we know what those, if we learn our fretboard and where the notes are, we will know what chord it is that we're playing based on where the roots are. So it's good to know the notes on the strings 6 and 5, and that's a more detailed lesson. But for now, what I wanted to get across is a couple of concepts. One is the scale pattern. 2 is the triad that's contained within that C chord, and how this shape can be moved anywhere on the neck. And that same pattern you learned here can be played here. So there's a lot there. Learn this pattern. It will pay off big dividends down the road. We're going to call this the C-shaped pattern. So learn that scale. Seven or 8 simple notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And pay attention to where the relationship of the notes. For instance, if we know that's our 1, 2, 3, well, look where the 1 is and look where the 3 is. They're kind of kitty corner from each other. This is the 4. 4 is right next door. It's just down. And it's going to be like that in all the scales. Anywhere you put your finger, if that's your root, guess what? That's going to be your 4. Okay? Root 4, root 3, root 4, root. If that's your 4, there's your 5. That's your 3, 3, 4, 5. So pay attention to those major, start with the major notes that are right adjacent to the root. Your 3, your 4, your 5. There's another 5 right here behind it. So wherever you're at here, if this is your root, you've got a 4 to your south, you got a 5 to your north. Root 4, root 5, root 4, root 3, root 5, root 4, root 3, root 5. So start to visualize that. So when you're playing this chord, go, hey, 5th string, that's my root. Right next to it's kitty corner, that's the 3. It's got to be the It's got to be the 5, right? Chord's got a root 3 and a 5. That's all it's got. Root 3s and 5s. 2 roots, 3, 5, and another 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All day long, you're going to find this to be very, very useful down the road. Learning the shape, the scale that's played within that shape, and the location of the notes in reference to the root, the 3rd, the 5th, 6th, etc. So pay attention to those, try to visualize them, and then you can play that up and down the neck, depending upon whatever key a song is in. So that's 20 minutes of me going on about this. I think that's enough. Try to absorb it, watch the video a couple times if you need to, and see if we can move forward and make a little more headway on this. Thank you for watching.